Hello everyone, Mark Major here. This is the Action Figuratorium. As you know, I am a real big toy collector, but I also like to talk about things going on in the toy community. And so every once in a while I do a segment I call Toy Talk, Musings on the Toy Industry. And today I'm going to be looking at a Kickstarter that consists of some 8-inch dinosaur men called Defenders of Eden, Armies of Ashmore. But I'm also going to compare it to a similar toy line that has already launched by Boss Fight Studio, the Saurozoics, I guess you could call them. And we're going to do a little compare and contrast, and hopefully we'll find out some good things. So stick around, folks. All right, if you are new, you can always subscribe. If you're old, you can always unsubscribe. I'm not here to influence people one way or the other. I just want you to get what you want. Let's look at this Kickstarter. This is called Defenders of Eden, Armies of Ashmore. I believe these are based on a comic book, as I see a comic book for sale in the Kickstarter notes as you scroll down. Essentially what these guys are 5 dinosaur action figures. There they are. And they're 8 inches. The tall one is 11 inches. If you check these guys out, there's creators of the comic book. You can see that they have a kind of a sort of a muscular, sort of He-Man buck body underneath, and they then reuse armor, just repainted. You can see they're using the same shoulders on looks like 4 out of the 5 characters. 3 out of the 5 characters, etc. I think have the same shoulders, similar chest piece, that kind of thing, just repainted. So you're really getting kind of the same body, similar armor, different heads with each guy. They give you what they look like, the exploded engineering view, unpainted guys. They're kind of draconian, kind of dragon-like. I think that's kind of cool. And you can see that there is some extra cool things you can get along with this Kickstarter. They're throwing in some rewards, etc. And so it breaks down to a single figure by these guys is $65 after as a Kickstarter discount. I myself would like to see a much bigger discount if that's the case. If they're only $5 more to wait and pick them up at Big Bad Toy Store, I think where it's $4 shipping, I think you might actually end up saving money if you wait. So that's kind of a tick against. Anyways, here's some more of the of some add-ons you can get, etc. Okay, so I want to say first of all that these guys look really good. In scrolling through the notes, I saw that they have worked with the 4 Horsemen, I believe, who probably some of the guys that worked on the sculpts. And if you here, let's switch back. If you look at some of the look at a picture of, see how detailed in the paint deco, and then you compare it to, say, the 4 Horsemen's Eagleus character based off of the buck they have for their Birdmen. It has a similar kind of hit to it. You can see how they're able to do these anthropomorphic characters and make them look like humanoid and still make them look like animal creatures. So that, of course, is particularly well done. And I think that's going to be a big draw, that these are in some ways, you could call them a 4 Horsemen's Mythic Legion fantasy reptile men line in some ways. I guess you could look at it like that. It also has some, I noticed a list of contributors and people that help. Spiro Toys, who does these Warriors of the Animal Kingdom. I ordered one recently. I got a 4-inch guy, wanted to check it out. They're essentially action figures that are either like some type of primate, you know, like gorillas and orangutans, stuff like that, or some type of feline, lions, you know, panthers, that sort of thing. Very cool, by the way. I like all that. Had kind of a sort of cartoonish, sort of Disney kind of feel to it, whereas these guys are definitely going for sort of, I would call, ultra realism, might be a term you use to explain that, but they look really good. They look really cool. They don't look cheap or not thought out very well. I think that they have a good product on their hands. So the pricing, of course, we said is $65. You can, of course, get them cheaper the more you buy, that kind of thing. Okay, so here is kind of what I would say is the white brontosaur in the room, is that if we were to go over to Boss Fight Studio, we would see that these guys who've been in the pipeline for a long time, been showing these guys off for over a year, have essentially came up with sort of the same product. They're dinosaur men. They're not 8-inch. They're 1/12 scale, which I assume means that they're going to be 6-inch, but maybe dinosaur men in the 1/12 scale are 8-inch, or maybe they're 4-inch. I don't know. It depends on how big your lizards are to get a scale of them. But they essentially, as you can see here, have similar looking dudes. In fact, let's go over to them on the Big Bad Toy Store. They actually have some better pictures. So here we can see their Triceratops man, and this is the Armies of Ashmore guy to compare and contrast. It's notice how they both picked up that they should be green. These guys have a very sort of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle look to them, in my opinion. The sort of bright, garish colors and the sort of mismatched fantasy apocalyptic armor. To me, that's very sort of Ninja Turtles-esque. These guys are, again, very sort of ultra fantasy, very much sort of like the Mythic Legions or even the Savage Crucible. So, you know, you can see these guys are only $30 though. Obviously, they don't have quite the art or quite the deco on them. The paint is not necessarily there on these cats, and they seem to be a lot lower quality of detail than all this, clearly, and they're priced accordingly. But, you know, if you were just looking to get dinosaur men, you're like, look, I just love dinosaur men, I just want some, the first company to come along and give me some dinosaur men, well, the Boss Fight Studio cats at $30, I have to say that would scratch the itch. You wouldn't really need to get Armies of Ashmore at the price they pay. But if you want some bigger looking dudes who look like they are the Conans of dinosaur men, well, then you're probably going to go with the other guys, with the Armies of Ashmore. I also want to point out, however, for some of you that don't know, in the 90s, there was this TV show and product line called Street Sharks. They were sort of these shark men who lived above water. They're like Ninja Turtles, but sharks, okay? And then somebody came out with Extreme Dinosaurs. And so we're looking at somebody's auction on eBay so you guys can see. But if you do a Google image search, you'll find a bunch of these cats out there. These are also dinosaur men action figures, not much for articulation. And they're kind of sort of hyped up weirdos, sort of more toxic Avenger looking than anything. I actually have a couple of these. I've found them at thrift stores over the years. I have the pterodactyl. I think I've got the T-Rex guy. I don't know. They're not particularly cool, but if that was something you were looking for, if you're looking for dinosaur action figures, that might scratch your itch. That might be something that you think is kind of cool and worthy of your team. So I don't want to stop anybody's dreams. Myself, looking at these guys, I have to say that, again, they look really good. I feel that $65 for me is kind of too much. I say that about every toy, but it's probably true. If you're saying it, it's probably true. Now, a lot of people will always come back to me and be like, oh, well, you know, the cost of the molds and the cost of production and things like that. And like, yeah, I understand that's the supply side pricing on stuff like this, but you also have to do some demand side pricing as too, where you have to ask yourself a very realistic question. Can anybody afford this? Who can afford this, and how many? Now, it seems like they're doing pretty good. These cats have managed to hit 82,000 out of 109,000 goal. They've got a whole month, 33 days to go. I'm pretty sure they're going to hit it, and they're probably going to do some unlocks, etc. If somebody gifted me one of these, I'm sure that I would fall in love with it and love it for different reasons, probably purposes that the original creators hadn't thought of, right? But I think that I'm probably, as a casual collector and a guy who only pulls the triggers on things that he likes, this doesn't scratch any particular itch that I have. Again, they would make cool sort of fantasy bad guy bosses against other fantasy lines, you know, especially if you've got like some 6-inch knights. These would be something worthy to go up against. To me, again, they look real sort of Dragon Man-ish versus dinosaur-ish, right? And I guess that's because at the end of the day, if it's just a human muscle body and armor, you know, you're kind of barking up the Dragonlance tree there, for those of you who remember Dragonlance. So that's the small conclusion from today's survey of this recent Kickstarter, and that there are a lot of options out there from the past and the present as far as dinosaur action figures. If this is something you dig, this is something you dig, and I'm not going to stop you. So with that, I'll catch you guys on the next one.